Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Hang on, my dog's gonna bark at me. She's like, "Who are you talking to, Mom?" Already quit, girl. Welcome to my channel. So, I keep looking at that way. I'm not looking at the camera. I'm sorry. I hope you guys can hear me. I figured I would do part 2 of my video from yesterday. If you're watching this one and you haven't already watched my other one that is entitled, This is Hard to Talk About or something, I think it is. It's my last video. Go watch that one first so you know what the heck I'm talking about. And if you've already watched that one, then welcome back. I'm going to explain the rest. So hopefully, like I said, you can hear me. I have the window open because it feels amazing out today. Surprisingly for Nevada, it feels great. It's like in the 60s. Oh, my water's getting cold. I'm about to do my dishes while I talk, so I'm doing something. I'm off today, and yeah, during the week, we're all busy. The kids are in school. We're both working, so I was going to show you guys, but it's kind of gross. Like, I have so many dishes right here. My kitchen's a mess. Yeah, it gets pretty bad, throughout the week when we're just working and we're busy and we're tired. And so on my days off, I have my work cut out for me. Anyway, so I'm going to do that while I talk. Like I said, I hope you guys can hear me. I did watch my last video over again. And hold on, let me adjust this a little. I did watch my last video over again, and I was like, I was disappointed in myself. I was repeating myself. I left a lot out. Yeah, I got to practice more. I'm still, I'm working on it. I still get nervous when I do videos and all that, but I will try to do better. But yeah, I was laughing at myself in my last video. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't know. I didn't like it too much, but I'm going to try better in this one. I'm going to hopefully mention the things that I actually left out from my last one. I apologize in advance. I ramble. That's just me. So if I start rambling about nothing, I'm sorry. I'm going to try to get straight to the point. So, like I said, in my last one, I left out a few things. Okay. So if you're like, what the heck are you talking about? My last video, if you watched it, which, like I said, watch that one first before you watch this one, or you're going to be a little confused. So about surrogacy. I left out some of the requirements, so I'm going to hopefully remember. I did write some notes, but it's in the other room, and I'm kind of lazy to go get it right now. So, but if I need to, I'll go run and get it. A couple things. So I'll try to make this super quick so I'm not like boring you guys, but I'm going to try to go over all the steps again. So basically, like I said in the last one, you do the interview, whatever. It's a couple questions, it's like age, how many pregnancies, that kind of stuff. So initially you have to pass that first, and then you once you pass that, you set up an appointment to do like a Zoom call with a what am I trying to say? Oh my God, I'm doing it again. And I'm hoping I have enough storage and my phone doesn't die because I'm just going to be rambling. With like a case manager, that's what I'm trying to say. So then you do that. Then after that Zoom call, they basically go over everything, requirements, what's it called? Oh my God, I'm drawing a complete blank. Compensation, that's what I'm trying to say. Compensation, all the requirements, just everything. They go over everything. They just kind of, if you're new to it, which at this point I had pretty much known everything already, from all the times I had applied. So, I had already known, like steps and all that. But if you're new to it, they go over everything, next steps and what to expect and all that. Basically like the checklist and all that. So then after that, then you kind of get the process started. Now, like I said, for this one, once I finally found this agency and they approved me and all that, kind of the same. I didn't have to do an in-home visit. They were okay with just sending a bunch of pictures. So you have to send pictures of your house inside and out. Make sure, you're living in a nice home and it's not like, disgusting, or make sure you have a home. Those kind of things. So they want pictures of the inside and outside of your home. Like I said in the last video, of your family, your just all that, pictures of you, of course, all that. Then they go over, you know, then you have to send like insurance. And for this one, I sent a picture of my weight on a scale, all the insurance stuff, just all that. So yeah, once all that's in, the other thing that I left out in the other video is I did have to talk to an MFM doctor. An MFM stands for maternal fetal medicine. So that one I did have to talk to, and I guess that was basically, I actually think they do it with all of the surrogates and with this particular agency, but I think my case in particular was really important to do that because obviously, like I've mentioned, my age, I was already over 35 at that point. So what, I think this was about 2 years ago when it all like really started with this agency. I don't really want to say their names yet. Maybe I will later in the video, but anyways, I was probably already like 37 at the time. 3 C-sections, and then like I mentioned, the uterine window. So basically I talked to that doctor. She kind of just goes over, you know, all the risks and just basically, you know, all that, letting me know, which I already had known at this point, that I'm super high risk, and just, you know, kind of prepares me. So anyways, I talked to her, everything's good there. Next, you go to your OB, you have to get a clearance letter. So basically my OB has to, like, you know, say, yes, I believe she's okay to be a surrogate based on, you know, my recent pap smears. You have to get a recent pap smear, make sure obviously that's good. Like I mentioned, a ton of ultrasounds and blood work. It was extra ultrasounds for me because of the uterine window. But yeah, once all that was cleared by my OB, you get all that in, and then what else? Sorry guys, hold on, my dog my husband just got here. Oh, they're probably just hearing things outside actually. Anyways, I'm so sorry if you guys can't hear me. My dogs they see something outside. And once one barks, the other two go start. You know how that is if you have dogs. Anyways, so yeah. So all that. And then, what were the other things I wanted to mention that I left out? So then obviously you get matched, and then once you're matched, you know, like I said, your records go to the intended parents clinic. So once all that was good, I had to do a full like blood panel, just like I've mentioned in the last video. You know, they checked everything. My doctor, and that doctor at the clinic was like, I had a Zoom call with him. He just kind of wanted to go over everything. For the most part, everything was all really good. I think one thing, my iron was low, so he suggested, or, you know, he basically told me to start taking, I think it was D12 vitamins, I believe so. I still have them, but I'm kind of lazy to go get them. Actually, hold on one second, guys. I'm going to go get them real quick. I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to show you my other thing that I'm going to, hang on, one sec. Okay, guys, sorry about that. I'm back. I guess it's D3. I don't know why I said D12. 1,000. I don't know if that was the amount I needed. Anyways, I just started taking these for my iron. And then I just brought this out just to show you guys. I'll show you actually a little bit later, but ew, there is coffee all over it. I'm actually gonna clean that up. This was all like my med stuff. This actually makes me really sad because obviously this is from my, you know, transfer from last time. So it's just some extra stuff I have. I'll show you guys this in just a second. Anyways, okay, so yeah, so then that, go over all that with the doctor. Everything was good there. See, maybe I should have grabbed the notes. I feel like I'm still leaving something out, but I just want to make this video all about like the process again, because that's kind of what my last video was about. I don't think I'm really leaving anything. I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, so then that, so once, you know, you're medically cleared, they tell you, you know, congratulations, whatever, you're medically cleared, and then you could start the legal process. So the legal process takes a while. Obviously, you have to pick a lawyer. They give you a couple options. I picked my lawyer, you know, and then you kind of start that process. You go over the whole contract, kind of you know, see if what you agree with, what you don't agree with, just, you know, basically, yeah, just go over the whole contract. And, you know, if you want to change some things with the compensation, or if insurance doesn't look correct or whatever, you kind of just, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? You just go over the whole thing, and then once you're satisfied, you sign. Lawyer sends it back to, of course, the intended parents have their own lawyer. I have mine. Then they send it back to the intended parents. Once they go over everything, you know, and they're ready, then they sign. I guess what took so long, you know, because they wanted to make some changes. So then, of course, once they make changes, it goes back to me, and it kind of went back and forth a couple times, and that's what kind of took longer. But anyways, once it was finally all good and we both agreed, signed, everything was good, you got to get all that notarized. And then finally you get to, you know, you get your email, congratulations, you passed legal. So then that's all good. And then after legal, of course, you start the process of getting everything ready to go, to the clinic and do the transfer. Now, obviously, you know, they don't expect you to make a bunch of trips, because like I said, my IP's clinic was in New York. So they didn't expect me to go every time to New York. So, you know, when I had to do my blood work and ultrasounds, it was here in Nevada. It was a Las Vegas clinic I went to. So I had to go to that quite often and do, like I said, ultrasounds and blood work and all that. So once that was all good, yeah, then like I said, it goes by your menstrual cycle, and then, you know, they pick a transfer date. So yeah, we did all that, and then we had our transfer date set. My husband and I went. They pay for, you know, a spouse, friend, whoever you want to bring. One other person they'll pay for. So obviously I brought my spouse. They paid for the whole trip. It was really nice. We had a lot of fun. I have been to New York before. When I was a teenager, I went with my parents. We traveled from California to Maine, because I have family in Maine. So by car, obviously, you know, my dad loves to drive, and so we took a trip, all of us. Anyways, so I had been to New York before. I haven't been to specifically this part where the clinic was. It was in Manhattan. So that was cool. It was a cool experience. I mean, I didn't love the driving. The driving kind of freaked me out, and it was just a lot of people, so crowded. But it was a great experience to be able to do that. We were there for 2 days. I still remember transfer date, of course, you know, waiting and waiting and waiting, and the anticipation and all the process and everything. When that day finally happened, of course, you know, it was so exciting. I was just over the moon. Yeah, so you get in your hospital attire. My husband actually just stayed in the no, he didn't. He went in with me. Was he in this? I don't know. Anyways, he was in with me. But the whole process is actually pretty quick. You know, you have to get dressed as if what you would wear, like what he wore when I had my C-sections. So I had to wear the booties, the hairnet, gown, whatever. The actual what's it called? Actual transfer did not take long. For me, it was a little painful, and a lot of the women said that it shouldn't hurt at all. But for me, it was a little painful. I don't know why, but it wasn't too bad. It was like a 10-minute thing. Doctors were great. Everyone at that clinic was so nice. I really liked everybody there. They were just so sweet. So yeah, that happened. It was a girl. The embryo that they transferred was a little girl. You know, after the transfer, we walked around, what park is that? Oh my God, it's the big park there. It's gonna bug me. I'm gonna leave it down below. It's in Manhattan. God, my memory, man. Guys, I have the worst memory. Anyways, went to the big park there. Central Park? No, that doesn't sound right. Anyways, we went to the park. Walked around. It was nice. So anyways, yeah, and then you wait 2 weeks. You go back to your clinic in your state, which was was the one I went to in Nevada. did a, sorry, I have like a itch, did a ultrasound and a blood work. Unfortunately, I was not pregnant, and naturally, you know, I was fucking devastated. It was the worst feeling. I felt like I did something wrong. I was like, maybe I just can't get pregnant anymore. I'm probably too old. Like, you know, it's just not gonna happen. It was devastating. But anyways, so that happened. And then, so now I'm gonna get to the part where you guys are probably all waiting to hear, because I keep saying, you know, I have something juicy to talk about and I haven't said it yet. So anyways, okay, so that happened. Now, at this time, I'm just gonna say it. I like saying it out loud. I don't know. I feel like a bad person, especially what I'm about to say a little bit later. I just feel like a bad person. But anyways, I had an affair. So let me explain before you guys are like, what the heck? So my husband and I, okay, so my husband and I have known each other for 20 plus years, long time. Okay, we've had our ups and downs. We've had our moments. We fight, obviously. All marriages, you know, aren't perfect. So this particular time after transfer, just for personal reasons, whatever, you know, we were just fighting a lot more than usual. We were just not getting along. We had talked about divorce. We were just not getting along. So anyways, okay, now the affair. Now, first, I just want to put out there, this particular person, okay, wasn't like I just randomly was like, I'm gonna go cheat on my husband. Oh my god, this video's so long. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so bad at explaining things. Anyways, the particular guy that I was seeing, I had known for 12 years, okay? We met, I'm 13 now, actually. I met him when my oldest son was 4, and he's 17 now, so 13 years. We met at a job. I'm not gonna say what job. We met at a job about 13 years ago, became friends, that's all it was, whatever. Shockingly enough, because we both had to change numbers through the years and stuff, we stayed in touch, you know, just as friends, whatever. There's a lot more, like, that goes into it, but that's a whole nother video. But anyways, so we stayed in touch. That's all I'm going to say with that. And then at this time, when my husband and I were fighting a lot, we were kind of talking more, you know, hanging out. Yes, we were hanging out a lot, actually. And so I actually, so like I said, you know, that transfer didn't stick, but we were getting ready to do a second one. I had an appointment at the clinic to go do some more blood work and ultrasound to get ready for the second transfer. I had missed that appointment, so of course, you know, like, it's a big deal. You can't miss those appointments. They're really important. So that doctor in New York called and was like, you know, why'd you miss that appointment? What's going on? I ended up, and this is something I regret to this day, because I wouldn't be where I'm at right now had I told them. I could have just kept it, you know, personal and not have said anything, but I told them. Unfortunately, I made the mistake. I told my agency, you know, that my husband and I are thinking about getting divorced. My husband actually caught this particular guy and I hanging out one day, so of course caused, you know, a huge thing. We were gonna get divorced, whatever. So yeah, so then I had to tell my agency, like, you know, because you kind of, obviously, you know, you go into it, you go into this process with your spouse, obviously, you know. I told them that I was happily married and, you know, all the testing and everything. Oh, that's one thing I did leave out. See, I knew I was leaving something out. Psych evaluation, that's what I left out. You have to do this whole psych evaluation. You talk to someone, you know, and they ask you like 500 questions, like shit, like it's kind of repetitive. It's like the same question but asked differently. But basically, you know, like, do you want to kill yourself? Do you do you think about killing yourself? Those kind of things, you know, just a whole psych evaluation. They just want to make sure, obviously, you know, you're in a good mental state to do surrogacy. So then after that, then they want to do it with the spouse. So that's kind of where, you know, I'm getting at. The whole process, plus I was under his insurance, so obviously I couldn't continue without insurance because they had already had all that insurance in the system. It just wasn't going to work. You know, if I was going to get a divorce, I basically couldn't do surrogacy anymore as a single mom. So, point being, I guess, long story short, so whatever, that happened. We obviously, you know, we're not getting along. We were talking about divorce, whatever. So I had gone to live with my sister. Oh no, that's what I was saying. I told the agency, you know, like, look, this is happening, whatever. At first, they pretended to be supportive, and that's a whole other video I want to get into about this particular agency. At this point where I'm at now, well, I guess I'll tell you guys later, but I'm really not happy with this agency. I just feel like, I don't know, they didn't treat me as well as I would expect to be treated as a surrogate. But anyways, that's a whole nother story. But so anyways, they pretended to be supportive, whatever. You know, the main like case worker that I had been working with was like, you know, I went through it too. I understand. Maybe take a few years off and then do it later, blah, blah, blah. To me, it was just all fake, you know. They didn't really give a shit. We're just all, you know, I don't know. That's just a whole nother video, like I said. But anyways, so they pretended to be supportive. They're like, yeah, of course, you know, you can still do it, even if it means, you know, you go alone to your second transfer in New York, or bring a friend or bring a sister, whatever. You don't necessarily have to bring your husband, but we could still continue. Everything's fine. Everything's good, whatever. So I was excited, you know. Obviously, all the shit going on in my life at that point was not, you know, I was going through a lot. I was stressed. I probably should have just on my own been like, hey, I got to take a pause from this. But, you know, like I said, I was dedicated. I was determined. I was all in. So I was ready to still continue. But anyways, so I moved with my sister. No, right before I moved to my sister's, the agency called and was like, unfortunately, you know, your IP's lawyer wants to break contract. They don't want to work with you no more because of the divorce. They think that, you know, it's a bad idea. They just want to look elsewhere, basically, is what they told me. Obviously, that was so devastating. I was like, wow, that hurts. Like, it felt like I was already going through a lot, and then that, you know, instead of them being like more supportive or whatever, they were just like, I don't know. It just felt, it was hurtful. But basically they didn't want to work with me. I mean, I can kind of see their point. You know, they were like, wow, we thought it was this happy couple. We're together a long time. Everything was great. And then out of nowhere, they're getting divorced. Because, you know, you never know what's going on behind closed doors. They didn't know what was going on. They had no clue. Obviously, I had never mentioned to my, sorry guys, hold on, agency that I was having an affair because, I mean, it's, you know, it's not something I'm proud of. It's embarrassing. I wasn't going to just tell them that out of nowhere. So they didn't know the whole situation, and they were just like, yeah. So okay, I'm rambling again. So long story short, whatever, they broke contract. They didn't want to work with me. So then I was like, what does that mean for, you know, moving forward? Like, can I get rematched? Is this whole thing just over with? Because, you know, like I said, to find a clinic that would even accept me at that point was so hard. And the one in New York was actually, I forgot to mention, they were actually known to work with like older women who struggle with infertility and all that. So I had found like the perfect clinic that was, you know, willing to work with me, and a doctor that was known for, like, you know, working with my situation basically. So I was like, thought I was at square one, you know, it's over, it's never gonna happen, I'm done. So whatever, that happened. I moved a couple hours away in the small town. I had a bunch of videos before on my other channel about my sister's town where she lives and stuff. Oh my god, this video is gonna be like 5 hours. I'm sorry guys, I gotta get to the point. Yeah, I had some videos, really cute videos before you know, talking about like where my sister not telling where she lives, but you know, talking about her little town, but and like videos of us hanging out and stuff when I went to visit her before. But anyways, that's another reason, I guess I'll just say it, that's one of the reasons I took down my channel and all my videos and everything, just because everything I was going through, I didn't want to, you know, I basically wanted to just take a break and just, you know, reevaluate my life, I guess, and just not, I just wanted to take a break. And to be honest, my husband's sisters were going on my channel, being nosy, saying rude things, and just being awful, because obviously they were pissed about the situation, what I had done to their brother or whatever, you know, which I want to say is understandable, but the way they went about it was just wrong. But anyways, that's a whole nother video too. But that is one of, you know, the main reasons I took down my other channel. So, okay, so I go to my sister's, you know, move there with her. She lives about 4 hours away in a small town in Nevada. At this point, you know, I was getting much closer than I had ever before to this particular person that I was seeing. Obviously, like I said, we were always friends. We stayed in touch for 13 years. We were super, you know, close. We always were close. But, you know, at this point, it was getting more serious. More, you know, feelings were, yeah. So, I'm not even going to really get into that. But, yeah, so it was getting serious. So, he was taking the drive numerous times back and forth to see me from Vegas to my sister's town, and I was doing the same. I would stay, you know, at his place a lot in Vegas for like a couple weeks, or he would go out there a couple weeks, and so we were just spending a lot of time together. You know, things were getting pretty serious. At this point, you know, my husband and I were like, we were serious about going through the divorce. We thought, you know, it's over. This is just the way it's going to be. My kids were really upset with me. I'm just going to be honest. They didn't talk to me pretty much the whole time I was at my sister's. They were super mad at me, which is understandable, you know. They're looking out for their dad. But yeah, that was a whole other thing. That was super hard, and that's one of the reasons I think that I finally just, you know, ended it, and we finally worked things out, because my kids. Anyways, okay, so that happened, and then, so basically, the agency was like, you know, we can find you a new match, whatever, but it's obviously, you know, starting over, it's going to be hard, we'd find a new clinic that will accept you, blah, blah, blah. So I had a Zoom call with the CEO. Everything went good with that, you know, we had a great meeting, I thought. Everything was good. She's like, yeah, we're going to get you matched again. Everything's going to be good. Yeah, I was aware, you know, it was going to take time. Like I said, finding a new clinic was going to be the way it was before. I was expecting that. But, you know, so I was kind of like, okay, kind of pausing the whole, like, you know, journey, but kind of knowing in the back of my mind, I'm still kind of like continuing, if that makes sense. Yeah, and I was just kind of doing my thing. I was staying with my sister, like I said. I think I ended up staying with her for 4 or 5 months. So, quite a while. I was working. I started working. Now, let me get to the whole point of like the juicy part about the, this whole situation. So, the ironic thing is, okay, now mind you, I've been with my husband 20 years, like I said. Our youngest is 10. I had never gotten pregnant. Obviously, you know, married, my husband and I were doing things. We weren't really using any kind of protection. But for 10 years, I had not gotten pregnant. I thought at that point, and then of course, after the transfer, I was like, well, maybe I just can't get pregnant anymore. Maybe it's because I'm older. Maybe my body just, you know, I don't know. I just can't get pregnant anymore. So the ironic thing, if you guys can't already guess, I get pregnant with my boyfriend. So yeah, I knew something was up. And like I said, I was living with my twin sister. We're super close. We're like one fucking person. If you're a twin, then you probably know what I mean. She knew right away. She's like, dude, I think you're pregnant. Like, you haven't had your period. Like, you're just acting like you're pregnant. I think you should take a test. I took a whole bunch of tests. My mind was blown just because, like I said, I was like, 10 years had passed, nothing happened. And then I had the transfer. It didn't stick. And then I randomly get pregnant. So, and this was 8 months ago. So I was still, 38, 39, yeah, 38. I just turned 39, so I was 38. So to say I was shocked is an understatement. I was fucking shocked. I took about 10 tests immediately, like, you know, the ones that's like the plus and the minus. Immediately, the plus and minus was so clear. Then of course I took a bunch of like the digital that said pregnant or not pregnant, just to be sure. Right away, like not even after 5 minutes, right away it said pregnant. I was shocked. I was honestly shocked. I was like, oh fuck, what am I gonna do? Like, I didn't want any more kids. My whole situation was just bad. You know, how do I tell my kids, like, you know, yeah, the whole situation was just bad. So I was like, I can't keep this baby. Like, I don't know what to do. Honestly, the few months that I was pregnant, I felt great. I didn't feel sick. Like, I was working every day, going to work just fine. I was a little sleepy, but for like my age and stuff, surprisingly, like, because I got really sick with my other 3. But this one, I felt actually great. That's why I was so shocked too. Like, I don't really feel pregnant. But, I'm sweating, you guys. But anyways, so I was. Of course, my boyfriend and I talked about it, like, this is the part that's, like, hard for me to talk about, honestly, because it's just hard. He wanted the baby, of course. It would have been his first. But obviously, he knows my situation, and, you know, he wanted to just let me decide and leave it up to me because he just didn't want to, you know, it's just, the whole situation was just weird. So this is the part where I feel like a horrible person, and this sounds so fucking selfish, you guys. Like, saying it out loud, like, I feel horrible. I feel horrible saying it out loud, like, and it's still hard for me, like, knowing what I did. So, and this is not the first time I actually did this, you know. There was another time when we were, okay, that's a whole nother topic anyway, another video. But anyways, so ultimately I got an abortion. That's why I feel so horrible, because I feel like I was being selfish, because, to be honest, I was like, for one, like I said, I didn't want any more kids. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? By the time I turn 40, I will have a 9-month-old. I wasn't, you know, my youngest is 10, like I said, and it just, and if I'm being honest, like I said, this is the part that makes me feel horrible. I selfishly was like, how can I be a surrogate if I have my own baby? And I kind of still wanted to do surrogacy, so kind of a part of me got the abortion because of that. And it just makes me feel so shitty when I think about it. But yeah, it is what it is, and I'm not proud of it, obviously. I cried a lot over it. I still get very, like, emotional when I think about it, and when I don't know, it's just hard. But I did have an abortion. I think I was 9 weeks, almost 10, so I was obviously not far along, but I wasn't that not far along, so it was hard. But so yeah, obviously my boyfriend was with me. We were both devastated, but we had to do what we had to do. And I forgot to mention, he's in the military, so that too is why we kind of like didn't talk for a long time, like didn't talk as much. And then why we got so much closer this time is because he was, you know, not traveling at that point in the military, and he was just living in Vegas, so that's kind of why we started talking more and hanging out more. But also that was one of the other reasons, you know, like, I was like, even if I had this baby and gave it to you and moved, you know, on, we both moved on, and I went back to my family and you kept this baby, like, how would you raise it when you travel so much for military and all that? So it was just a bad situation. But So that's my news, my tea. I guess it's pretty juicy. I mean, I know I'm not the only one who like has gone through this or, you know, done shit like this, but I'm not proud of it, obviously. You know, it's embarrassing. But ultimately, you know, I did get back with my husband. We decided not to divorce. Yeah. I didn't want to have a bad relationship with my children, so here we are. So, anyways, probably a lot of that story I left out too, but this video is like 5 hours long already. And if you're still watching, thank you. Like, I know I'm just rambling and you're probably bored out of your mind by now and probably clicked out, but if you're still watching, I appreciate it. So as far as surrogacy, so that happened, and then so this was back in, so this is the bad part. Okay, so the transfer in New York was the end of May. I started talking to this guy, obviously I'm not going to say his name, this guy, June, July, we really started hanging out. I remember because it was 4th of July. At this point, you know, obviously, the kids were mad at me. They weren't talking to me. I was still living at my home, but we were just not talking. We were fighting a lot, blah, blah, blah. And then June, I had went to live with my sister. So, at this point now, so I lived with my sister June, July, August, September, October. 5 months. The abortion happened in between. I came back home. I had that meeting with the CEO, for the agency back in, like, I feel like it happened right when I what's it called, into my sister's. So it was like, I don't know, late July, maybe early August. So from that time to like recently, like I said, she said I was back in matching. Months had gone by. I never heard anything. Randomly, I would get like calls from a new caseworker that I had been working with, and she's like, oh, it's been so long, we need to update like pay stubs and stuff like that. So then I would do that, and then months will go by, I wouldn't hear anything, and I'm like, this is strange, like, what's going on? So finally, I get a call from another caseworker there. I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, you know, we feel like you should go with this other agency we work with. They supposedly like match way quicker, and they have way more clinics that will accept your particular situation, and blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, so basically you're handing me off to another agency with no explanation, and I kind of can't say no because you're kind of telling me that I'm not like basically working with you anymore. So I was like, okay. So now at this point, we're in what are we in? April. We're in April, and I think that last conversation was now, it's already been like 6 months. No, maybe not that long. It's been a couple months. And I'm working with a new agency apparently. So I finally, you know, recently emailed the CEO of this other agency that I originally was working with. And the other lady, I emailed everybody. And at first, you know, she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm busy. I'll get back to you tomorrow as soon as I can, you know. Because basically I emailed her like, hey, I'm just a little confused. I'm a little honestly hurt and angry. I don't know what's going on, you know. All these months had gone by. You told me I'd get matched again. She even told me in that call that there was IPs waiting for a surrogate. I could meet them. So I was expecting to like get matched right away. Yeah, so I was just like, what the hell's going on? All of a sudden, you know, you're giving, you know, basically handing me off to another agency with no explanation. So I want like answers. She never answered. No, the first one, she's like, oh, I'll get back to you, whatever. Days had gone by, and I was like, hey, just, you know, checking in. Trying to be patient and just give her time, whatever. I understand she's busy. But nothing. And then she finally, after like days, she sends an email, oh, I've been busy traveling, I'll get back to you as soon as I can, whatever. And I was like, okay, whatever. Gave her the benefit of the doubt, waited. course, that day passed and didn't hear anything. And now it's been like 2 weeks plus. Still haven't heard a word from her. So I emailed the other lady with that agency that I used, you know, that was one of my case managers. No response. I emailed her again, like, hey, what the heck's going on? Finally, she's like, honestly, I have no clue what's going on with your case at this point. I'm so out of the loop, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I get it. They see a lot of women, you know, I'm not their only surrogate. Like, I don't expect to be treated like any special way, but I do expect to be treated, you know, with respect. And I feel like an agency should treat you, you know, good. Like, you're doing a great thing for someone. I feel like they should treat you like a person and not like just a number. And I literally at this point just feel like I'm getting treated so bad by these people. Yeah, so she just, and then of course she's like, I'll get back to you soon, and it's already been days and I haven't heard a word. So I'm like, I'm not gonna hear from them. It's just weird at this point. I'm just fucking angry, to be honest. I'm angry, I'm hurt, I'm confused. So many emotions. I want to say their names so bad, because if you do plan on being a surrogate, I suggest not going with this agency. Even throughout the whole process, I mean, they were nice, whatever, but there was little things like on transfer day, nobody from the agency was like, good luck, you know, we're rooting for you, we're hoping for the best. Nothing, not a word. And then you're with this agency, you're supposed to get like a transfer box of like goodies and stuff. I never got mine. Supposedly, you know, they sent it to my house instead of New York or whatever. It was a miscommunication. And then when I asked, you know, I was trying to like not be, you know, like not like expecting anything from them, but I knew I was supposed to get that. And so I was like, hey, you know, what's going on? Finally, like last minute, I honestly feel like they just threw something together just because I had asked. I just didn't feel special. There was moments when I just didn't feel like I should have felt as a surrogate. And, you know, maybe I think way too into it. Maybe I'm expecting too much. I don't know. But that's just me. And I just felt like I wasn't getting treated right. So anyways, yeah, this video is so long. I'm still rambling. I'm going to wrap it up before my phone just stops. But yeah, so basically that's where we're at now. So I'm working with this new agency. I'm in matching still. Of course, same situation. We're having a hard time finding a clinic because of your 3 C-sections, because of your window. Oh, that's the weird thing why I wanted to mention that clinic. So the other day from this new agency, the caseworker, and she's really sweet, but it's frustrating. It's frustrating at this point, and I'm honestly at the point where I'm like, I should just give up. Like, obviously, I'm not meant to do this because it's just so much. Like, thinking about it is making me mad right now. Anyways, she was like, oh, I got great news. We found IPs that are interested in you, and we sent you, because with them, they do it a little different. They send records first, and then you get approved first just to make sure, you know, before you meet them, just so they don't get their hopes up and you don't get your hopes up, which I think is great. So they sent the records, and guess where they send them? San Diego Fertility Center. You know, I was curious, so I asked her, like, hey, I'm sure it's not the one in New York, but I know you, because she basically works with a lot of clinics in California, so I was just curious. I was like, you know, I know you work out of California, a lot of clinics in California. Just out of curiosity, which clinic is it? And when she said that, I was like, oh, fuck. So I was like, whatever, you know what? It was the last time that the records were sent there and I was flagged was like a couple years. So I was hoping, well, maybe it's new doctors. Maybe since they get all the new records and see that another, what is it called? Endocrinologist, whatever. A new, you know, doctor accepted me and was willing to, did a transfer. So was willing to, you know, didn't think that I was, what are the right words? You know, thought I was medically, you know, okay to continue on to be a surrogate. So I figured, well, if they see all that, you know, maybe that's going to change their minds. At first, they were like, we want your surrogate. They told, you know, the agency, we want your surrogate to do this test. It's a sono ultrasound to check for this particular, I don't know how to say the word, you guys. It's like ISTHESE or something. I don't know how to say it. I know I butchered that completely, but basically it's something to do with the C-section scar. They wanted to make sure it wasn't, I I don't know the exact terminology. They wanted to make sure it wasn't like, what am I trying to say? Ugh, I get frustrated with myself when I do this. I can't think of what I'm trying to say. Basically, they wanted to check for something, and I was like, you know what? I already had all those tests done, so I have the results already. Sent the results. Literally, the results said her sonogram looks normal, healthy, everything's good. She does not have the whatever it's called. And still, that doctor was like, yeah, but because the window, we can't see her, unfortunately. And I'm like, so why did you waste my time? And if I would have had to do that test again, why would you even get my hopes up and make me think that I had a chance of being accepted when you were going to say that anyway? So that was irritating. But so now, back in matching and trying to find a new clinic. So that's where we're at now. I'm going to end this video here because it's like a freaking 5 hours. If you're still watching, like I said, thank you so much. I hope I'm not talking too fast. I hope you can hear me. I hope everything I said made sense. I know I'm sure I left out a lot. Oh, I said I was going to show I'm surprised my phone hasn't stopped on you guys. It's probably going to be in a second. I was just going to show this. This was just like medicine from my last transfer, and it makes me so sad. Just a bunch of alcohol wipes, needles. I don't know if you guys can see that. The needles that I had to do the injections. First, it was like in my stomach with these little needles, the 22 gauge, and then it was in my thigh, and then I still have like the estradiol some left. I have the progesterone. I can't say that. I have some of those left. This one's a prednisone. Just here's some of the medicine I still have, the vials. I don't know why this one's like full. That's the injection I used. So yeah, I just have all this extra stuff. Just makes me sad because, yeah, just the whole situation, everything that happened, it was just ironic that, you know, I didn't get pregnant during transfer, but then I get pregnant on my own. And, you know, I guess it was kind of reassuring because I'm like, well, at least I know I can get pregnant. I'm not too, you know, old or whatever, but it just would have been nice to do it as a surrogate. Anyways, okay, I'm gonna end it here for sure now. I'm just rambling. If you're still here, thank you so much. I really hope you liked this video. I'm so sorry it was so long. I gotta work on my videos. I gotta practice more and learn how to just get out what I'm trying to say without making it 5 hours long. I'm gonna finish my dishes. I still have quite a bit. But anyways, yeah, so thanks for watching. See you in my next one. Bye, guys.